Jeffries, I am one of the board members.
Hi, I'm Becky Filer, one of the board members.
Sandy Johnson, board member.
Corinne Rudsell, board member.
Go ahead, Jessica.
Jessica Sales, board member.
Mike Pierce, board member.
And this is our staff. Go ahead and introduce
Jessica Wingeter, staff.
a little louder.
Oh, Jessica Wingeter.
Maybe everyone knows this.
Yes.
And now, would you start in the back corner?
In the back here. I'm Mary Ellen Ball. I am the CEO of Impact Behavioral Health Partners.
And hello, my name is Maria Moreno. I'm the nurse with Impact Behavioral Health Partners.
Reggie Blunt, Co-Executive Director of Garrett Evanston Freedom School.
Virginia Lee, Co-Executive Director of Garrett Evanston Freedom Schools.
Maureen McDonald, Executive Director of Peer Services.
Jenny Fawn, Development Director of Peer Services.
Lindsay Percival, Executive Director of Learning Bridge Early Education Centre, formerly Childcare Centre of Evanston.
Good morning, I'm Ann Repelt. I'm the Program and Education Manager at Learning Bridge Early Education Center.
Good morning, I'm Patricia Effiam, City of Evanston.
Jennifer Jenks, Senior Program Supervisor, Metropolitan Family Services.
Carol Tusky, Interim Executive Director of the Child Care Network of Evanston.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Miskowski with the Child Care Network of Evanston.
And I'm Jenny Blickenstaff with Child Care Network of Evanston.
And I'm Susan Swanson, I'm at CJE Senior Life.
Jerry Miller-Brown with Center for Independent Futures. Ann Sycon with Center for Independent Futures.
I'm Pat Blumen. I'm an observer for the League of Women Voters of Evanston.
Thank you, everyone, for coming and being prompt. This session will be video and audio taped. It is not being presented as we speak, but it will be available. Would you just explain that, Jessica, how that'll be available to people?
Sure. It'll be available online on the city's mental health board page site. And it's a YouTube video.
And would you introduce yourself, Larry?
I'm Larry Murphy, member of the board.
All right, so we're actually 6 minutes ahead. Is Impact Behavioral Health, are you ready to present?
We are.
All right, come forward. And please, again, state your name and the name of the agency, and no initials. We want full names of the agencies, and your address, and how people can contact you, because people may be tuning in who want to volunteer or contribute.
Sure. Can you hear me okay? Is this on? Doesn't sound like it. I'm loud, so do you need this?
Are we okay?
Can you hear me? You can hear me, okay. I apologize for my back to everybody. I am Mary Ellen Ball. I am the CEO of Impact Behavioral Health Partners. We are located at 2100 Bridge Avenue, which is this building, this Civic Center, in the garden level 320. You can contact us through our website is the easiest way. It has our phone number, our address, and important people to talk to there. It is www.impactbehavioral.org. Is that helpful for the contact information? Okay, great.
And phone number?
Oh, phone number 847-866-2977. And you can always call 311. They can get to us easily as well. Fantastic, so I'll start my presentation. As I had said earlier, I am Mary Ellen Ball. I am the CEO at Impact Behavioral Health Partners. I am with Maria. She will introduce herself in a second because she is the true star of this show. I'm just here to give some background about the agency. So we have been around for 30 years here in Evanston. We are here requesting a renewal of our $60,000 mental health board grant to continue our clinical services. We were formerly known as Housing Options for the Mentally Ill in Evanston, then shortened to Housing Options, and then recently we have changed our name to Impact Behavioral Health Partners. This is part of our newest 3-year strategic plan, where we have decided that our previous work of the 30 years was critical and very important. We need to continue to do that work. We need to clarify our mission through our name. At points, I was getting phone calls for refinancing of mortgages, which is not what we do. So it was obvious we needed to change our name to better reflect our mission. So part of our strategic plan was that, and the other part is learning that we need to expand our services. Our services are critical and life-saving, and we need to do more of it. So we're hoping to double our impact in the next 3 years. We have big goals. What we currently do and what we want to do more of, I always say that we have three legs to our stool. We have housing, which most people understand right away. Housing is permanent supportive housing, meaning people can stay indefinitely. It's a housing first model, meaning we do not have barriers to our housing. You can refuse services, you cannot take medication, you can be an active drug user. We believe housing is a fundamental right, and you can't get healthier until you're housed. So that's the housing first model. It's a well-accepted model across our field. So we believe in that. The other part of our stool is the second leg, which is our clinical services, which you'll hear mostly about today. We are very proud of our clinical services. We are unlike many other agencies in the sense that we have all master's level clinicians. We believe that having the best staff possible will be the best for our participants, that continuum of care to be there for them. Many of our clinicians are licensed as well. And then the third leg of our stool is our employment program, which you may have heard of in the past referred to as iWork. iWork is now we just refer to as the employment program. It is competitive employment for persons with mental illness. And it is not about having the 10 set-aside jobs for baggers at a grocery store, which are wonderful, but we really try to work individually with each person to see what they want to do. We have participants come to us with PhDs, with masters, and GEDs. So we want to find something that fits them. I forgot the most important part of what we do. All three of these legs support the stool of adults with severe and chronic mental illness. That is what we focus on. I think people get us confused with a lot of other local agencies, but that is the thing that really is different from us from anybody else. Severe and chronic mental illness, diagnosed mental illness is what we do. For adults, we're looking to expand all of them. So that is a very quick overview of what Impact Behavioral Health Partners does. But today, I think the real star is someone I'm so proud to work with, Maria Moreno, who is a wonderful nurse, and she's our full-time nurse on staff and what this grant would be supporting. So I'm going to let her talk about her program.
Miriam, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I also have a loud voice, anyone that knows me. And I'm very happy to be here. This is my first time here. I'm very proud to be representing Impact Behavioral Health as their nurse. And I'm hoping that I can be one of the fourth leg on that stool of representing health and wellness services. I'm very proud to be part of this excellent clinical team. Let me tell you just a little bit about myself. This year I celebrated 40 years of nursing, and I've been started out in general medicine and then decided to go into mental health. And mental health has been my passion ever since I was in school. I went to Loyola University in Chicago and graduated in '77. And in my last semester there, I focused on community mental health. So that's been a passion, even though I went and worked in the hospital and in the medical floor for 4 years, and then inpatient psych for about 9 years almost, and then the day hospital, outpatient mental health. And then I went to work with the elderly for 9 years, a Council for Jewish Elderly, CJE Senior Life, and at Heartland, and Willpower, which which is now part of Threshold's new foundation center. And now I am, and then of course, after that, I worked for 12 years with Becky Filer at Connections for the Homeless. So homelessness and mental illness and community health have been my passion for a long time, and I commit to give my best possible work for these folks. I have so much respect for the people I work with, not only the clinical team, but most of all the participants and clients we work with for their resilience and their strength. But they need support, and I want to be part of that support. And one thing that we know is that people with mental illness tend to have a shorter lifespan than the average population, unfortunately. And why is this? Part of the reason is that access to services is not always as good, and the stigma is another big part. And I want to be there to help with that, be a bridge and a liaison for people that have difficulty accessing services, and that is a big part of what I do. Like I said, I'm fortunate to work with an amazing clinical team. We work together, we communicate, and together we all do what the best for our participants. And what the most important thing is the outcomes. You know, how does this impact people? And I think I can honestly say part of having a nurse on a team helps hopefully prevent further health decline, helps people understand what prevention is all about, and helps them feel more comfortable accessing primary care services. One of the things I do is help people get linked with primary care providers that don't already have one. And I also go with people to many appointments. Part of my role is education, and also but as an advocate and a liaison for people in the doctor's offices. And one thing I forgot to mention is that I spent 2 months in 1998 in Sweden studying their healthcare system. I had the good fortune to go with North Park University because I mentored one of their students when I worked at Heartland. And their system, that was in 98. They have nursing and mental health and they've always had that. And they've done some research studies that in community health care, when a person is linked right away and can be followed by a complete team, their rate of hospitalization and health decline is much, much lower. So, you know, I think that was something I was very proud of and something I was very fortunate to be able to do. Like I said, at Impact, we have a wonderful team. Our psychiatrist is great, Dr. Solomon. He's been there since the beginning, I believe, and he's been a terrific support to all of our participants and our team. But to me, when I deal with the medications, I help a lot with people managing their medications, and Dr. Solomon's always been very accessible. In fact, he's out of the country, he'll be out of the country, and he said, oh, just call me if you need me. And he means it too. So all of this makes it a wonderful place to be, and I'd like to be able to continue to give as much as I can to our participants, who I learn so much from with their resilience. And I want to give you one example though. Some people have a harder time talking to their physician or really understanding, and many people they're very bright. It's got nothing to do with it, but sometimes if they haven't been in the healthcare system as actively before or have not had advocacy. And I'll give you an example. I took a gentleman, he's 59 years old, and he was feeling very dizzy. And I took him to the doctor, and he never complains about anything. And he's somewhat cognitively impaired as well as being mentally ill. He's schizophrenic. And I took him to the doctor, and he just said, all he could say is, I'm dizzy, I'm dizzy. And then he just started to get very fidgety. And he was on the exam table, and then started to just jump off the table. And this is a man that's not ever done that. I mean, he does not just get like that. This is not his baseline. So I thought something's really going on. So they tried to do an EKG, and he wouldn't allow them to do it. Turns out we went to the emergency room, and we went over his medications, and one of the medicines he was on was Thorazine, primarily partly because of his mental illness, but also because he has severe hiccups. And Thorazine helps with that. So the doctors wanted to, say that he needs to be a little bit calmer, and they said they wanted to give him more Thorazine. And I'm thinking, one of the effects of Thorazine is akathisia, which is this restlessness, because he couldn't sit down. Besides the dizziness, he kept getting up off the ER bed and going to the, walking around and then coming back and saying he's dizzy. Turns out that the doctor said, no, he needs the Thorazine, and they sent him home. They said, we can't find anything. And I said, respectfully, just because you can't find anything doesn't mean nothing is there. And I'm afraid we're going to end up coming back if he doesn't get better. Well, he was discharged, and we came back the next day. And I talked to the doctor again because the restlessness got worse. It turns out, I called Dr. Solomon. I said, we can't leave here until we know why he's still so restless and still dizzy. Turns out it was the Thorazine. It was akathisia from the Thorazine. Once they stopped it, the dizziness went away. I'm not the dizziness. Well, the dizziness did start to go away, but also the restlessness. He also had anemia, and I asked for them to please do a complete blood count when we came back the second time, and he found out that his hemoglobin was like 6, and normal is 13 to 12 or 13 to like 15, 16. So I'm hoping that my role helped prevent him from getting worse, you know. And then I also worked alongside with home health, and I feel that I have a very good relationship in the community as well, and hopefully that behooves our participants also.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Do we have any questions from the board for this agency?
I just have one quick question. When you say you accompany people to doctor's visits
Yes.
and hook them up with health care, do you go to Erie or where's your
Anywhere. I have a very nice relationship with Erie because of the work I did with Connections for the Homeless. But I go to Erie, I go to private physicians, I go with people for, like, I'm going with someone on Monday for colonoscopy, and we met yesterday for like an hour to go over her prep because she was really nervous about it, and I helped and I called the office to clarify some things. But I really want to say that our participants, though, are really the stars. We have a recovery model, and they're wonderful.
I was just sort of curious
Yeah.
how much is public versus private health
Oh,
care.
yeah, it doesn't matter. We serve everyone, and I go with anyone. And there's a certain number that I follow a little bit more closely because of their health needs and medication monitoring and that, but I'm accessible to the entire agency, always. And it's not like home health where, you only have X number of visits for one specific targeted area, such as after surgery, for dressing changes or what have you. I'm there for health and wellness, and
you can follow up with
I can
people,
follow
so that's awesome.
forever. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mike had a question?
Yeah, I did. With the budget, I had some concerns in the sense you projected a 12% increase in HUD and DOORS funding, and the services you're providing currently, you're currently providing those, and they seem adequately funded, and then you're getting an overhead reduction by moving in here. I don't think you need the money, I mean, quite frankly.
The DOORS is for our employment program.
Right.
So we are actually we're expanding that program.
Okay, so put that aside, you're doing what you're doing now, and yet you're having a reduction in your overhead and an increase in your revenue. I don't see the need for the 60,000, quite frankly.
Oh, for this program?
Right.
DOORS that money specifically, the increase in that money is specifically for our employment program, and this money is specifically for Maria. So we do.
I mean, I understand.
Yeah. So I do believe we do need the money if we're going to continue to expand all of our services.
Right, but you're not asking money for all of your services. You're asking money for the health part of it, which you're already providing and it's adequately funded. So I just don't see it myself. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to ask a question, and I'm going to ask this question of every agency. So we have a very difficult problem because the requests from agencies are a lot greater than monies available. We have received information that our grant award this year from the city that we in turn recommend allocations for the agencies is going to be 4% less than last year. And we have several more agencies applying. So my question to all the agencies, please address it when you give your comments. How would it affect your program that you have given us in writing if you don't receive a full allocation?
So I know I can speak confidently on this, and I think probably every other CEO or executive director in this room will say the same thing. As a nonprofit, all we're doing is trying to raise enough money to keep us afloat. And when something gets cut, it's just going to be a shift. It's going to be a shift of, if we have money for one program, then we can continue to do that. And if we don't have money for another program, it's going to be shifting our priorities. All of our programs are our priority. All of them. All three legs of our stool are critically important, and they're all interwoven. They all rely on each other. So if one leg gets weaker, it's a harder hit for the whole stool. So I respectfully disagree in the sense that I think we do need this money for us to continue to do the high quality work that we do and for us to continue to grow and meet the demands of this community. So I think, I very much agree with, I know that funding gets cut everywhere. I used to work for the city, so I know exactly where Jessica is on this. So I do believe we are great stewards of the funds. If we don't get fully funded, we do what every other nonprofit in the community does. We make do. We fundraise more. We cut hours if we have to cut hours, but we still want to serve our participants in the full continuum that they deserve.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thanks for your good work.
Absolutely, thank you.
And now we'll hear from Family Service. And you received all the instructions.
Yes. Good morning. My name is Jennifer Jenks, and I'm the Senior Program Supervisor for Metropolitan Family Services, Evanston, Skokie Valley. Metropolitan's Evanston, Skokie Valley offices are 820 Davis, Suite 218 in Evanston, and 55210 Main in Skokie. The main phone number is 847-425-7500, and the website is www.metrofamily.org. Others on the leadership team are Carla Frisch, Evanston Skokie Valley Center Director, and Roxanne Nava, our Executive Director of the region. As I'm starting this presentation, I would like to have you think about a situation with a client that we had this year. It was a young mother. She was upset, frustrated, in a very bad place in terms of where her life was. And she told the family support and prevention therapist that she wanted to smash her 2-year-old daughter's head against a wall. And so as I get to the end of this presentation, I'm going to tell you what happened in that case. Our family support and prevention program has been serving vulnerable Evanston families for more than 20 years. Family support and prevention is a program that completely encompasses Metropolitan's mission of helping families to learn, to earn, to thrive, and to heal. The purpose of the program is to give the families the tools they need to be able to effectively parent their children, thereby enhancing their family functioning. As we strengthen families, we reduce the risk of child abuse. The program, which works exclusively with Evanston residents, Evanston families, offers services in Spanish and English, and we offer home-based and office-based services. Therapist has a master's degree, is bilingual and bicultural, and also has a 40-hour domestic violence training. The program focuses on families with multiple problems and helps to address core issues that impact the child and family functioning. We offer intensive counseling, case management, advocacy, parenting support, and referrals as needed. Clinical staff works with families to identify the problems and stressors impacting the family. We assist parents and children in developing skills that meet their physical, emotional, social, and developmental needs. All Metropolitan Family Service programs, including Family Support and Prevention, provide and receive data on outcomes through our Quality and Evaluation Department. We are very proud of our outcomes, which include data from the Parenting Stress Index, which parents complete every 6 months, as well as data from progress toward their treatment goals. Additionally, MFS's high standards are acknowledged by its National Council on Accreditation status. Metropolitan is truly grateful for the current funding level, and family support and prevention will continue to maintain its strength at that level. Metropolitan has resources. We have an annual fundraiser that we have up here for Skokie, Evanston. We have other resources where the agency contributes to the budget. And so obviously we request the amount of our request. However, if there are cuts, Metropolitan will be able to maintain the program with a slight cut, I would say. So Metropolitan Family Services contributes 50% to the overall FSP program budget, with the Mental Health Board funding 50% of the program. MFS Skokie Valley has its own 13-member board, and money raised through those events supports local programs, including family support and prevention. With the increase that MFS received last year, we were able to offer Parenting Fundamentals. This program we offered specifically to our family support and prevention families. Parenting Fundamentals is unique in that it's an evidence-based program, and it has a commitment to offering parents specific information and problem solving based on the age of their child. Here are a few comments that were from parents who completed the 8-week session. And these comments were in Spanish, our group was in Spanish, and they had been translated. One of them from a parent was, "I learned what was abuse and what was neglect." Another parent, "I learned not to yell and to not spank my children." Another one, "I learned how to listen to my children and to solve problems." And one parent wrote on a question of, how will your child benefit? What does your child say about your participation in Parenting Fundamentals? And the parent wrote, "My daughter says that I'm a better mom." So our partnerships in the community are strong, and they include a group that the Family Support and Prevention Therapist co-facilitates with staff from District 65 Family Center in Evanston. The therapist also has a role with MFS's partnership with Erie Evanston, including contacting and assisting families referred from Erie for family support and prevention. We participate in the LAN and coordinate the annual LAN Resource Fair. In addition to District 65 and Erie, FSP receives referrals from area hospitals and schools. We also have a partnership with Camp Echo, and we use funds from a separate grant to send Evanston families to Camp Echo in Michigan through the YMCA. One family we sent this year has been in family support and prevention, and the mom and the dad and the 17-year-old daughter and the 9-year-old daughter all went for a week to family camp. This was paid for by Metropolitan, and it was offered to this family for being in family support and prevention. The family had an amazing time, and when they came back, they told us that is the first time they have ever been on vacation. So absolutely an incredible experience for this family. We also sent children to camp for 1 week or 2 weeks. The Family Support and Prevention Therapist also coordinates with other programs such as our Child and Adolescent Mental Health Program and Adult Protective Services to assist clients. The therapist recently linked a parent with the Child and Adolescent Program so that her child could begin receiving mental health services. So I'm going to end my presentation by telling you about the client who benefited from the wraparound services. The client has family female in her 20s, had been in the program for over 2 years, so shortly after her daughter was born. She was referred to the program by one of our partners, District 65. At the time, she was separating from her daughter's father, and during the first year of services, she was in this unhealthy relationship. There was a lot of conflict in the relationship. She was able to separate from the relationship, and her daughter continued to have contact and visitations with the father. However, she really began to struggle as a single parent. So her 2-year-old daughter was having severe tantrums, throwing herself on the floor, kicking, screaming, yelling. The client was unable to calm her, was unable to regulate any of those emotions, didn't know really why this was happening and what was going on. She felt frustrated, angry, and alone. And she told the Family Support and Prevention Therapist that she wanted to smash her daughter's head against a wall. The client was seeking a safe space to be able to tell someone, a trusting individual, these deep inner feelings. And obviously a risk assessment was completed. A safety plan was done. The risk assessment revealed that the client had never physically harmed her daughter, and that she had never come close to doing it. She had the thought that she wanted to do this. So what we did was we immediately increased her therapy to twice a week. We did phone check-ins on a very regular basis. We created a safety plan so that she knew how to contain her daughter and walk away when she needed to do that, how she needed to get help, and we enrolled her in Parenting Fundamentals. The timing was actually really amazing because the group was starting and then this was happening, and so we were able to connect these two very important resources. So she attended the first class, and she was a little concerned that she wouldn't be able to go because she was also working full-time. And her job was sometimes she worked mornings and afternoons, and sometimes she worked afternoons and evenings. And the schedule was done, and she had to show up when she was scheduled. But after the first session, she went to her job and she said, I need this class. I need to be in this class. And she completed the program. Her work allowed her to participate in the program, which was offered at our Evanston office. It was a 2-hour class for 8 weeks. Childcare was provided, and the clients received lunch when they came. She learned about child development. She learned about what her daughter was going through. She learned about herself. And she applied this to her daughter's behavior. So she was able to identify that her daughter needed more attention, her daughter needed consistency, and her daughter needed positive redirection. And this is a quote from her. I learned to pay more attention to my child and be more involved in games and have more time with her. The client's change in her parenting led to a reduction in her daughter's tantrums. And the client learned coping skills to reduce her stress and began feeling more positive about her daughter. The therapist continued to reinforce these skills during individual sessions, and the client has been able to follow through and use the skills. There is no risk at this time of abuse anymore. She has reached the point where she is able to understand what's going on. She's able to parent her daughter without risk. Client has also been working on the loss of her relationship and learning about healthy and unhealthy relationships and how she can really build her own life, increase her own self-esteem, and work on her own goals. So this type of success would not be possible without the support of the Mental Health Board, and we request continued funding to keep supporting Evanston families.
Thanks for your presentation. Do we have any questions?
Yes. Do you do follow-up care once someone has ended, whether it be counseling or group? Do you do a follow-up with them?
You know what? So generally when they end services, what we tell them is at any time, you can call us back and reinitiate and reopen services. And so we have had families who may close and then they come back into services. We do also have some families who will stay open for a period of time, and then they can call back. They can always call back to receive help if they've been in the program.
And did you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to know what type of support you offer parents that extends beyond the Parenting Fundamentals group.
Oh, yes. So individual therapy with the parents.
Okay, so is that all done through you guys? Like, what happens if they have like presenting mental illness? Like, are you referring to external providers? Are you doing that in-house? Like, how do you handle that?
So some part of it with things like depression, anxiety, some PTSD that we do. Our therapist is a master's level clinician. If there are other more severe mental illness, if we assess that there's more severe symptoms, then we would refer them for more intensive mental health services. But we provide mental health in addition to parenting support.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes. I would ask of you, and perhaps your response to the last question speaks to my question, but I'm hoping that all of the presenters will speak to this, in as much as this is the Mental Health Board, and not a board supporting all of the wonderful services that are provided across the board in various agencies. Can you tell me to what percentage of your work, the services that you offer, are specifically related to mental health support and thus the need for funding for that portion of it? And I'm hoping that all the groups will speak to what degree mental health is a part of what they do.
Absolutely. So most of the clients who come into our program are struggling. They may have a variety of issues that may be going on. So it could be anxiety, right? Anxiety leading to stressors that happen in the family. There could be financial issues that lead to depression. So there are mental health. So mental health is an overarching issue with all our clients in this program. So in terms of what services they receive, we really focus on, it's called family support and prevention, to kind of help the entire family and strengthen that family. The services, we teach coping skills, we teach strategies for depression. The therapist does cognitive behavioral therapy to help somebody increase and change their negative thoughts. The therapist works on motivational interviewing, which is a strategy to help somebody kind of figure out where their ambivalence is in their life and what do they want to do. What are some of their goals and what do they want to do and what do they want to achieve? So mental health services as part of family support and prevention is very connected to the parenting.
Okay, thank you. Now we have
Well, I would just like to really commend the agency for the work that you do with outcome tracking. It's very impressive because I think there's some major confusion of what outcomes are, and you get it right. I mean, you're able to show what the results are of specific services. So I know that takes time and it also takes fun. So anyway, you do a great job.
Thank you.
Thanks for your good work. And now we'll hear from Trilogy.
Thank you very much.
Can I just say as a point of order, apologies for interrupting, but while it is important for the board to consider mental health services, until the board goes to city council and requests to only focus on mental health services, it is important for the board to consider all of the funding priorities and all of the priorities that the board is responsible for considering.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Susan Doig from Trilogy, and this is Samantha Hamley from Trilogy. Trilogy, our main address is 1400 West Greenleaf in Chicago, Illinois. We also have an office at 838 Howard Street in Evanston. We are a behavioral health organization, so everything we do is behavioral health. So the position that we are applying for an extension of, we've got $30,000 this year for a liaison position to the Evanston community. And the Evanston liaison position is really focused on outreaching to the community of Evanston and offering Evanston residents tailored services in our outreach service. So the intake worker is connected with she's connected with more than 30 organizations in the city of Evanston. And she provides regular outreach and intake with the library every week and Connections for the Homeless twice weekly at Hilda's Place. So she provides intake services and intensive outreach to clients who are reluctant to engage in services. So, for example, we have open access hours every week at Trilogy, but for clients who are reluctant to come in for services, the Evanston outreach worker will come to somebody's home. One of our success stories is a man who he came into the Evanston Library and met with Becca, who is our liaison, and he had never requested mental health services before, and she reached out to him 10 times before he was actually able to be connected with a team. That is not part of our normal process. So going out and meeting with somebody in their home, in the library, meeting with Evanston Police 10 times before they're actually able to come in and connect for service is not part of what we are able to do because our Medicaid payment structure doesn't pay us to do that. So that's part of the beauty of this position is that Becca is able to really make those connections in a way that is not part of our normal process. So this year we've been able to serve, well, we anticipate by the end of this year we'll be able to serve 75 new Evanston residents. 95% of the residents that we serve make less than $10,000 per year. We don't charge them anything for the mental health service. We mostly bill Medicaid, but we do, as I said, provide some free service to those clients as well. So that's just a portion of who we serve in Evanston. Our total Evanston residents are about 250, so we have 250 Evanston residents that we serve currently, but we anticipate with this grant next year we'll serve an additional 75 Evanston residents.
Hi, so I just wanted to add part of what's introduce yourself. Oh, I'm Samantha Hanley. I'm the vice president at Trilogy. So I just want to talk a little bit about some of the work that we have been doing this year. Trilogy, our mission is to serve people with mental health diagnoses of mental health issues. So we primarily serve people with schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, bipolar disorder, depression, anxiety disorders, post-traumatic stress disorder. So most of our clients have a lot of mental health needs. One of the things that makes Trilogy unique up here on the North Shore and on the north side of Chicago is that we have assertive community treatment and community support teams. And so these are very intensive outreach teams that go out and see people in the communities in which they live. People do not come in to our offices to see us, we go to them. And so what Becca has been able to do through the grant funding in the last year is to be able to engage new people into those types of services. So the person that Susan referenced that she was able to outreach at the library through also the partnership with Presence, because there's a Presence person that works at the library. The Presence person said, hey Becca, I think you need to go talk to this person. She met with him many, many times. He is now on one of those assertive community treatment teams, getting a very high intensive level of outreach 3 to 7 days a week, because the ACT teams do see some people 7 days a week. There was another person that very similar story was referred to us from the the Evanston Police Department. And again, she had to outreach this person multiple times. Many times she went to his house, he wasn't there. But through all of her engagement, over a period of 1.5 months, she was able to get him into Trilogy, and he is also now receiving services on one of those ACT teams, which means he's getting his psychiatric services as well as all of the other services that the ACT and the CST teams provide. And so our traditional inpatient services, like Susan mentioned, is open access, where people can come in anytime. They don't have to make an appointment. They can just show up and we'll see them. But for many different reasons, sometimes people don't take advantage of those open access hours. It is still kind of scary to get out of bed and take a bus or drive to a mental health center and get those services that you need. There's a lot of anxiety around those things. I don't want to be labeled as one of those people, a lot of misunderstanding in the community. And so us being able to go out and meet with people where they are and talk to them about the services that we provide reduces the level of stigma that people are experiencing from their mental illnesses and allows us to engage them at their pace. And then once Rebecca is through with them, she's able to meet with those teams that she's referring them to, give them a warm handoff so they understand all the work that she's been doing with this person and who this person is and what their challenges are, so that they can provide a high degree of quality services to that person moving forward. And again, from a traditional intake point, we just don't have we don't have the capacity to do that. People make appointments and they either show up for them or they don't. If they don't show up, we'll call them and try to reschedule, but they have to return those phone calls. Having somebody that's able to go into the community and find people and talk to them is absolutely crucial to getting those people engaged in the services. So we hope that you'll fund us for another year to be able to do these critical services here in Evanston.
Do you know how many of the 75 people that came in through the service did eventually receive more intense?
Sure. I think when I was looking at the numbers earlier, I think it looks like through quarter 3, because we're I don't have the quarter 4 actually. We're getting ready to enter, but through quarter 3, we had said that we would see 35 people. We've actually, I think we've been referred 53 people, and we've actually opened up 42 of those people. So 42 of those individuals did become Trilogy clients. Many of them are receiving those ACT and CST levels of services. The other people were referred to other services in the Evanston community, more appropriate services geared toward what their needs were. If they didn't have that really intense need, we worked to get them linked to other services.
Just a suggestion to your grant writer.
Sure.
That didn't come through clear to me, that a high percentage of these people go on to be engaged for therapy. It didn't come
all right
to
I
me.
will share that with them.
Any other questions?
Yes. What percentage or of the people that you're doing kind of the outreach and going into their homes, well, not percentage, is there a number that are on the street that are not in homes? I mean, for basically the homeless.
Sure. I don't know the total number of who Rebecca worked with, but I know that the person that Susan just talked about at the library was somebody that identified as homeless. And we do have housing programs. So again, once they're linked into our services, they get the full variety of Trilogy services. We have an integrated health clinic that has primary care and psychiatry. We do traditional outpatient therapy type services. We have health and wellness services, a lot of different group offerings in addition to the individual services. I already mentioned psychiatry.
We also help people get benefits
housing.
such as Social Security disability, so for someone who is eligible, and that is a really difficult process to do without a lot of assistance. So someone who maybe doesn't have income but is eligible, we would help them with that process.
And I believe Becca has helped at least 6 people apply for Medicaid benefits this year. So people that did not have insurance when they came through her, she was able to get them onto Medicaid, onto insurance, and then we were able to open them for more intensive services. So she does do a lot of work to help people, which again, we don't get paid for that. Except for through this grant, and then they're able to access the full variety of health services, not just Trilogy, but for their physical health needs as well, because they have these insurance.
And how will it affect your program if you don't receive full funding?
Well, it would be difficult for us to continue to be able to do the outreach that we've been doing, because when somebody's not open to Trilogy and they don't have insurance, we have no way of getting paid for those services. So she has been able to form these critical links to almost 30 other Evanston organizations, so she can call them when she's got somebody that she thinks would benefit from their services. They can call us, and that takes time and effort to create those linkages. In not-for-profits, sometimes people come and go as they get other job opportunities, and still being able to reach out who the new people are and make sure that we stay on their radar and that organization stays our radar, continues to enhance those partnerships that we've developed in the last year. And I know that Becca has some ideas about some continued partnerships and potentially developing new partnerships next year. And again, those individuals that came without insurance, we would not have been able to help them get insurance.
Okay, thank you for your good work. And now we'll hear from Independent Futures.
Good morning. I'm Ann Sykon. I'm the Executive Director at Center for Independent Futures. We're located at 1015 Davis Street in Evanston. Our phone number is 847-328-2044. And our website, for those who don't like to stop in or call, is www.independentfutures.com. And thank you so much for having us here today. Center for Independent Futures is currently celebrating its 15th year as a nonprofit serving Evanston residents, and was really formed by two two mothers with daughters who had intellectual and developmental disabilities. And that really, there was a call to action, and many families in the Evanston area came together to really look at what type of supports were needed for individuals to be able to live in the community, and also to be able to be supported so that when their families are no longer here to be able to provide a lot of that support, they can continue on as productive citizens giving back. For Center for Independent Futures, you can imagine 100% of, you can think in your mind, 100% of the individuals we serve will have some form of an intellectual and developmental disability. Be that autism, be it a cognitive, developmental delay. There's a number of different diagnoses, Fragile X that we see, but that is usually the main, most everyone has that in common. But what we see is that 40% of the people we serve also have a dual diagnosis. And it makes for a very unique situation, because what we find is that often when people are going to traditional mental health providers who don't have that specialty, and also people with intellectual and developmental or cognitive disabilities, you can there's miscues and misunderstanding about if someone is just not answering because they're removed or they're depressed, or if it's really a language processing, if it's other ways that the information has to be presented. So for us, those 40% of individuals that we provide support for really need a niche and kind of a double focused support. And that is really what the mental health funding has allowed us to do in Evanston over this past year. We have been able to work with conflict resolution, creating this conflict resolution group with the support of Dr. Samantha Fox, and with our staff who also are conflict resolution and trained in that area. We've also been able to continue to support and work with our social drop-in. The majority of the people we work with are low, very low, are poverty level. Most individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities are either severely underemployed or they're unemployed. So for individuals, they don't have the additional dollars to be able to pay for services otherwise. So between having a social opportunity where people can come together and have a sense of community and share information that they're having, that doesn't cost them anything. I mean, it's truly critical that even a $5 fee is often prohibitive, financially prohibitive for the people that we serve. We're committed to continuing this very focused mental health program where it complements traditional mental health provider services, but it's also adapted for those with developmental and cognitive disabilities and learning differences. Right now, the mental health investment also has other real effects. By having someone with, once we can have really assist and help someone with an intellectual and developmental disability get employment, to be able to maintain that employment is just so critical. Really, if there's a co-diagnosis of mental health, to be able to provide them with ways to better manage conflict and interactions in the workplace is just really has a tremendous economic impact in helping that person continue with their employment. There's also the degree to which, minimizing some of the conflict that really escalates to a point where it requires police intervention or phone calls to other service providers in the community helps diminish the pull and the stress on those agencies. And it also just, it's allowing individuals to create and maintain relationships that provide natural supports and help people continue to function that doesn't require additional funding. And that is always a part of what we look at in everything we're doing is how do we utilize and create natural supports in Evanston for Evanston residents. Our 2018 Mental Health Board grant proposal incorporates ongoing and new programming in this focus, and it's utilizing new and recurring funding sources. So for our conflict resolution, you'll see an increase in the budget. And the request really was, given that last year was our first year of funding and our first year of having this program, we were trying to do reflection with our staff as we've been going through this year to say, you know, right now we have Dr. Samantha Fox once a month, and our staff members saying, you know, it's really impactful when she's there, and she has so much, you know, psychosocial, educational information, you know, non-verbal body language, so many things that she's teaching. And though he's reinforcing this on the 3 weeks that she's not there, the feeling was that if she could be there every week with that type of repetition and expanding skills, we would see greater significant gains with this group. The other thing also is that, you know, people with intellectual and developmental disabilities need to have experiential opportunities to practice skills, but they also need a lot of repetition. You know, more repetition than maybe other individuals do in order to really incorporate and capture those additional skills. With the group that currently, we started with 6, it's up to 9. You know, there is a sense of it, you know, what is a therapeutic point where you can't really do group that well when it starts getting too large because people's voices don't get heard and you just have too many in the group. And so one thing we are looking at this year is that, you know, we've already started to see one individual in this group develop some of the skills and start being recognized by other people in the group as someone who can help be more of a mentor almost. He's really, this individual is really had some significant gains in skills and being recognized by others. You know, we want to see that type of skill development really happen with everyone, and we're thinking about splitting this group because there's more people who want to participate, but we've been holding back right now. They're saying 9 is like a pretty heavy number, and having been a mediator myself, that is a lot of people to be working as far as conflict resolution work. And in doing that split, we would hope to be able to have individuals who have currently been building on their skill levels start serving as mentors of new people coming in. So that is one of the ideas that we have in going into 2018. And then we'll continue to work with our adult social hour for ages 25 plus, because again, there's very few opportunities for people to meet with their peers and to hear about what's going on and to continue to build those natural supports. Other areas of our programming, and what I wanted to mention was last year being our first year in many, many years of applying, we didn't realize you'd want to see the whole program. So if you look through our program, our budget this year, you'll see that there's also transition drop-in and programming fees, and there's after-school transition volunteer club, crisis management intervention that we have with individuals. And not this past week, but the week before, one of our tutors was able to intervene, with someone who was planning to try to commit suicide. So those crisis intervention we never mentioned before because it's something that our staff provides that support. We just last year wanted to, come to you with things that we wanted to do that we did not currently have established funding for. So now you're getting a more bigger focus on what we do in the area of mental health. As you can imagine, if 40% of our population is dually diagnosed, it plays a significant role for us. And then we're continuing on with our, staff and services rather, to continue to build everybody's expertise and ability to really work in the most positive way on areas of, anger, borderline personality disorders, schizoaffective disorder, hoarding, those type of issues that we find are prevalent for us. As far as outcomes and impacts, you can see the quarterly reports and the reports of self-reporting that individuals are doing, along with the report from Dr. Fox. The 2 points that I know we're limited with time here, but the one thing that I just really wanted to mention was one mother called me, and her adult child with disabilities is in their late 30s, very late 30s. And she said to me, and this is someone who has really had challenges with properly managing relationships and anger and that type of thing. And her response to me was, you know, I had started to give up. I had started to think this is the best it's ever going to be. And her report back to us from a mother's eyes is that, you know, the growth she has seen in the last year with this conflict resolution group and the intervention, the skills that she sees her adult child exhibiting now were things that she didn't think would be possible. And for participants, you know, one of the participants specifically stated, you know, that they feel that they have improved ability to connect with friends, manage friendships, and that when they're trying to manage things, it's not going into the destructive mode that has been a very prevalent process of where it would go next with that person.
Sorry,
So
I'm going to have to cut you off. We're just really limited in time.
I know, I'm so sorry. So
That's all right. Do there any questions?
Just a clarification, you're saying that the budget you're projecting is for the larger program?
Yeah, when you look at our budget and, you know, you see, like you say, well, how does this total number look so much larger? We didn't realize last year that you want to see all the programs we're doing, and, you know, where we have already secured funding, or we have fundraised, or we have other funding sources, we didn't put that in last year, so I just wanted to put that out there because, you know, I wanted to explain it.
So if there was not a complete approval of your request this year, you would just expand it as much as you could, but...
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thanks for your good work. And now we'll hear from Child Care Network.
Good morning. My name is Carol Teskey, and I am the Interim Executive Director for the Child Care Network of Evanston. We are located at 1335 Dodge Avenue. Our phone number is 847-475-2661, and our website is www.childcarenetworkofevanston.org. Our mission is to basically help struggling families. Most of them are living in the low-income bracket and are faced with not only seeking basic needs for their young families, but also struggling in terms of mental health. That often goes hand in hand, as I'm sure you well know. Each year we serve 455, or I should say recently, we're serving 455 children directly in one way or another through our different programs. In addition, we advise and connect families far above that number to other services where they can receive help. The children that we serve are aged prenatal to age 5, and we serve the parents as well. I am new to CNE. I just joined at the end of April. And I'd like to make sure that it is understood that we are an organization, having gone through many transitions lately over the years, feel like we are on solid footing. And I feel a little compelled to say my interim status is changing to permanent. We are, thank you. So I am new to CNE, but I am not new to the community, and I'm not new to the early childhood community or the world of disabilities, having been very connected to the Center for Independent Futures as well. I need to qualify that just for technicality purposes that we are an early Head Start and Head Start funded organization, and there are some protocols that need to go through before my official title is Executive Director. But we have taken all those steps. We are trying to be the best we can be at the Child Care Network of Evanston. It is taking all of our staff who are very enthusiastic and dedicated to the work that they do and have been doing for a long time. I'm very proud to become their leader permanently, and I just want to reassure the Mental Health Board that we are on the right track to be the best we can be. One of the things that I've been attempting to do in the last 4.5 months is to create solid community partnerships. And that is one of the strengths I can bring to the organization, is to do so in that I've been in the community for so long. And that makes us feel part of the Evanston movement to serve our citizens and serve our families. And so we have written grants together. Several of our organizations have co-written grants for mental health services as well, and other supports for our families. We're active member of Cradle to Career, working hard to serve the Evanston community. This program, this funding that you have graciously given the Child Care Network of Evanston began in 2001. And I remember 2001. I was the director of a preschool, a different preschool in Evanston, and we had a child who was suffering from mental illness and a family that was suffering along with her. And the funding, I was a new director. I didn't know what to do. I called the Child Care Network of Evanston, got Martha Arnson, who I knew, who immediately responded and sent a Learning Together mental health consultant over to our school and helped us throughout the year. Today, that young woman is a senior in college, doing well, has received services and support through different Evanston venues and different Evanston organizations and schools and mental health consultants, and I think everyone would be very proud of her today. I have just come to give you a little introduction of where sort of the state of the union of CNE, but I have two experts behind me from our organization who are actually working in the programs that we are asking for funding for. And before I close, I just want to say thank you very much. I've appreciated your smiles over the last months, and I look forward to working together. Thanks. First, we have Hava Albert, and she is going to tell us about the program that she's been administering.
Hi, my name is Hava Albert. I'm a early childhood social worker. I'm the supervisor in the Learning Together program, and I've been working at CNE for over 12 years in the Learning Together program. Learning Together is an early childhood mental health consulting program based out of the Child Care Network of Evanston, and Learning Together provides free social, emotional, developmental, behavioral, and speech and language therapy consultation at 6 Evanston full-day child care sites. Learning Together helps early childhood teachers in their classrooms. We help parents understand their children in a deeper way. We help directors make better developmentally appropriate decisions about staffing and programming within their centers. And we help children feel more comfortable and confident navigating the complexities of early childhood. Learning Together is the only program of its kind that exists anywhere within the North Shore. While the Learning Together program is small in relation to other social service programs within Evanston, the footprint of impact is large. Every year, Learning Together supports approximately 300 families with 400 children, give or take, ranging in age from 2.5 to 5 years old, within 25 different classrooms across 6 child care sites, training over 65 teachers and 12 administrators. The Learning Together team consists of 3 mental health professionals, as well as a speech and language pathologist and an occupational therapist, combined with over 24 years of experience within Learning Together, that we have all been a part of Learning Together. In addition to the breadth of coverage of the Learning Together program, there are several specific activities that demonstrates the depth of service that the program provides. Learning Together's work with teachers and administrators support the Evanston Cradle to Career initiative that targets to improve the quality of early childhood education experience through the training of skills to facilitate a child's social, emotional, and behavioral development. Research has shown that social emotional skills in the early years are a better indicator of a child's future school success than early academic skills. And that is exactly what Learning Together helps teachers and parents to understand, that their child's social emotional needs will foster their long-term development. And with these social emotional skills, they will go on to the path of success academically and socially and emotionally. But without that social emotional success in those early years, those next years and ongoing for their academic success will be that much more challenged. Learning Together helps the Evanston Early Childhood Centers comply with the new Illinois law. Right? Illinois Bill HB 2663 prohibits the expulsion of a child from an early childhood program as a response to challenging classroom behavior. Instead, it charges that the early childhood program has the responsibility to ensure that the child participates safely in the program by utilizing a range of community resources, including all available interventions and support recommended by a qualified professional. Learning Together provides the necessary expertise for required interventions, developing intervention plans, training, support, provision of professional development resources. We support teachers and help them to understand and respond appropriately to inappropriate behaviors while maintaining a healthy and safe classroom environment for all children. Over the 18 years the Learning Together program has been providing services, we have seen ongoing success with program participants, children, teachers, administrators, and parents. But I thought it would be nice to share two specific stories.
I'm going to have to limit you.
Okay.
If we're going to hear from your
Okay.
other,
Sorry
that's fine about that, but I'm just keeping a little eye on the clock and
Okay.
we need to keep to time.
Do you want to hear the stories, just so you have a sense? Or I can wrap it up.
I think wrap it up.
Okay, so we hope that you will continue to fund our program.
Hi, I'll try to talk fast. I'm Carolyn Wiskowski. I manage our systems navigation team at CNE, Child Care Network of Evanston. We are basically the intake group at CNE, so we meet families at the front door. We're the first communication with them. And I want to tell you a little bit about that process and a little bit how we go about awarding the scholarship money that the Mental Health Board provides. All of our intake staff, our systems navigators, are trained social workers. We try ideally to meet with every family in person. So we receive a phone call from a family, typically just asking for childcare. Sometimes that's as simple as providing a resource list of early child care providers in our community. And sometimes it's a lot more complicated. Sometimes that family will come in and it turns out that they're homeless, that the mother has mental health needs, that they've never applied for a link card, and that they need child care. So our goal is to help with all of those needs. And often, as Carol mentioned, it means referring families out to places where they can receive that help and then directly helping them with their child care needs. Families who have that many needs often qualify for some of the other programming that we offer, which can include Early Head Start, or the Child Care Assistance Program, which is a state of Illinois subsidy for child care services. The scholarship program is aimed to meet families who are just above the levels of help mandated by those programs. All of those programs have income limits, and once you pass that income limit, you're not eligible for those subsidies anymore. The scholarship program is for those families because those families still are struggling to pay for childcare in our community, but don't qualify for the other subsidies. So we go through a very detailed process with the families, looking at their entire income picture to figure out what the best match for them is in terms of services. We also, if the family does apply for the scholarship program, have a very detailed analysis of that family's situation in order to determine who's the best qualified for the program. I do want to point out that starting next year, we are planning to change the scholarship program to one-year awards. We've historically done the awards in 6-month periods, and we've heard constant feedback from the families that if they don't re-qualify for another 6-month period, it's devastating. There's very, very few supports available for the families who don't qualify for state or federal subsidies. So to lose that scholarship in the middle of an academic year is very hard for the families. So we're changing it to a 1 year in order to help the families in a more comprehensive way and to maintain continuity of care for the children who are enrolled in the program. Our only stipulation for the care provider that families choose is that it's Evanston-based and licensed. So the nice thing about that program is that it makes it unique. Families come to us and they're able to choose any provider of their choice, which, every family has a different circumstance and a different care provider that meets their needs. So we feel that's a really special aspect of this program. We're currently partnered with over 10 different child care providers in Evanston. So the funds go to each of those providers that the family chooses. And I just want to give you a little bit of a sense of what those income limits are for federal and state funding so you can have an idea of where these families are. These are not wealthy families who are receiving the scholarships. For Early Head Start and Head Start, the income limit for those programs is between 100 and 130% of the federal poverty limit. That's somewhere in the range of $16,000 to $20,000 in annual income for a family of two, a mother and child. For the Child Care Assistance Program, it's just over $26,000 a year. That's the cap. That's the point at which you become ineligible for those funds. So scholarship meets those families who might be at 163% of the federal poverty limit, $27,000 a year. If you're paying private pay child care services in our community, it's over half of your income immediately out the door so that you can go to work. So this program is, again, specifically geared for those families who are just above those limits and don't have other options. You may have heard that Illinois is going to re-raise the income limit for the Child Care Assistance Program. They've, in the last 3 years, dropped it down to 50% below the federal poverty limit, then raised it back to 162% of the federal poverty limit, and we just received notice that they're going to finally go back to 185%, which is great news. I mean, it's really what we've been waiting for a long time to happen. But I want to point out that 186% of the federal poverty limit, just above that cap, is like $30,000 a year. So we're still seeing families who are not able to afford private pay child care rates in our community, and that's who we're aiming to help with this program.
Again, I'm sorry.
Yes,
I didn't
I will.
catch you up.
That's
Any
fine.
questions for this agency?
I just have one, hopefully, quick question to clarify. How many children would be served with this grant? Is there a number?
For scholarship?
Yes.
We're aiming for 20 children served in the program. And so because we're doing 1 year awards, it would be 20 scholarships offered for the entire academic
And I
year.
think going to the year makes so much sense. That's a great thing.
Yeah.
But, okay, so it would be 85,000 children? I'm sorry, $85,000 for 20 kids? Is that about what it works out to be?
It does. I mean, right now we're serving 20. I think we might be able to raise that with a little bit more funding, but we're talking
Which shows what the cost of
it
holiday
is.
child care is. Okay, thank you.
And answer the overall question, if you don't receive funding requests in total, how would that affect your program?
Well, it would devastate us. Honestly, I have been worrying about this because it is so important to our program. But for both of these programs that we have been able to run for so long and are well known for, and lowering funding would mean just lowering our service ability to help those families that severely need it.
Okay, thanks for your good work. And now we'll hear Learning Bridges?
Learning Bridge.
I'm sorry.
Learning Bridge Early Education Center. But we'll go with Learning Bridge, like Harvard.
Good morning. My name is Anna Pelt, and I'm the Program and Education Manager at Learning Bridge Early Education Center in Evanston. We are located at 1840 Asbury Avenue. Our website is www.lbeec.org. Telephone number is 847-869-2680. And we are also on the Volunteer Evanston site for people who would like to volunteer at our program. First, I'd like to say thank you for your continued support. You've made the difference in the lives of children and families for many years, helping us do the work that we do. We have 2 grants, and I'm going to speak about the Infant Toddler Program, which serves children who are in family child care homes in Evanston, and there are a few in Skokie. This program serves primarily low-income families. These are single moms who are working. They're often in the service industry. Many of them, it's their first child, they're very, very young, and the process of childcare can be very daunting. We are site admin for the Child Care Assistance Program in the state, which means that we can help these parents with this admission packet, which is several pages long. It asks a lot of questions about their family size, their incomes. Sometimes they don't understand that if they live with another family member, that they don't have to count that family member's income. So we are family child care education manager, and our center manager, who also is a site administrator person, can walk the parents through this process. And within 24 hours, come up with their copay, enrollment, and get the child into care, which is really important because oftentimes they have a job waiting for them. They can't start work until they have child care. The child care program won't let them start child care unless they have a job. So we need to do 2 things simultaneously. Fortunately, we do it very well. Some of the things that make our program unique, first of all, there is no other program like this in the state. Recently, I was contacted by someone who worked in another organization in Evanston, who's now Wisconsin, who would like to have a similar program to ours up there. So we provide not only the support for the administration portion for the family child care providers, freeing them to then really give care and education to children rather than chasing down paperwork or payments or fighting with the state to get paid on time. We also provide a network of other types of support, including training. You've heard talk today about trauma-informed care and the levels of expulsion. It's really important to meet children at an early age and build these social emotional skills. A child's personality is pretty much set by the time they're 5 years old and entering kindergarten. So dispositions of learning and self-confidence are really important so that these children don't grow up feeling hopeless and prone to depression and other forms of mental illness. The screenings that we do in our program are partially funded by Infant Welfare Society, and they help us to identify children who have needs. It can be overwhelming for a parent to find out that their child has delays, whether they be in speech, cognitive, or physical. Our Family Child Care Connections Manager works with Child and Family Connections in Arlington Heights. The services are provided in the child care provider's home. The child care provider learns things that they can do. The parent learns things that they can do so children's development can continue. We've had a huge success in this area. Sometimes parents need help navigating the systems too, with payment plans, how to budget. So we try to provide some trainings around that. Some one-on-one time is really good for that. A lot of times when a parent needs help, there's a stigma involved in that, so having a group setting might not work. So having the family child care manager talk to them one-on-one is really, really important. So we try to think of ourselves as kind of like one of the front doors of learning. You know, a lot of times people think that babies, they can't really learn, that they're just there and we kind of care of their basic needs. Our program has a roving literacy person. It's a musician that comes out to the homes and immerses the children in music and songs and finger plays. It's great to see the babies just moving their little bodies along with it. It builds literacy skills, it builds math skills, and it builds that self-confidence that's really important. Ms. Lindsay, our executive director, she's going to talk about the other grant that we're seeking, and that is her scholarship assistance.
So my name is Lindsay Percival. I'm the executive director at Learning Bridge Early Education Center. Again, we're located 1840 Asbury Avenue. Our phone number is 847-869-2680, and our website is lbeec.org. And our email, if necessary, is admin@lbeec.org. If anything else with the name change, we shortened our email address. It's been lovely. I too would like to thank the Evanston Mental Health Board for its work for the families of Evanston who are in need and for its support of Learning Bridge and its infant toddler program over the years. With the scholarship funding that you awarded us last year, we were able to help families such as Anthea and Richard. Anthea has been working at Evanston Hospital for over 10 years and makes just over the eligibility amount for the Child Care Assistance Program. With a scholarship from you, Richard will remain in care and prepare for entering kindergarten, which will relieve a lot of stress for Mum, knowing that her son will have continuity of quality care until he enters grade school. This is a typical example of how critical these funds are for our families. With your help, we were able to reestablish the temporary 90-day scholarships for job searches that were no longer available to our parents. We had a family where the father lost his job and he was worried that he would have to take his son out of care and then have him at home, and then how would he be able to go to job interviews? With a scholarship, his son stayed in care until kindergarten and Dad was able to find another position. Receiving mental health board funding has encouraged us to increase our other sources of scholarship funding for children who participate in our program but do not live in Evanston. We have been able to help other families keep their children in care during stressful times. The Learning Bridge has received scholarships from mental health board funds since its inception of the program, and we do not see the need going away. Even with the recent return to the eligibility guidelines of 2 years ago, there will still be a need to help families who are not able to receive financial help from the state or federal sources. We are asking for $12,500 to support Learning Bridge families who have fallen off the CCAP cliff or do not qualify for Child Care Assistance Program due to income guidelines.
Thank you. Any questions for this agency?
I just have one. You are projecting in your budget like a threefold increase in your contributions.
We are.
How's that? I'd like to know the secret.
Well, we have a fabulous new director of development. We have a very motivated board. We are doing several fundraising programs this year that we have never done before, and everybody is committed to raising those funds.
Good luck.
Thank you.
If I could just add to that, it really helps us when we show donors that we have the support of the city too, as well as foundation grants. So we thank you for that.
Thanks for your good work. And now we'll hear from the Freedom Schools Project. Did I miss one?
Yeah.
Oh, just a minute, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Infant welfare. I apologize.
Hello, good morning. My name is Stephen Vick. I'm the Executive Director of the Infant Welfare Society of Evanston. This is Mary Burke Peterson. She's our Development Director. I've been with Infant Welfare Society of Evanston just over 2 years. We're located at 2200 West Main. Our main site is there, and the Teen Baby Nursery, which we'll be discussing today, is located at 2010 Dewey. Our main number is 847-491-9650. I want to take a really quick moment to recognize one thing, that some of my closest colleagues are here in terms of the early childhood world. Some of them are Learning Bridge and CNE. I can't tell you how incredibly profound it's been working together, and with new initiatives, with CNE being resurrected by Carol. She's a wonderful partner and has been for a long time. And I think there's a lot of exciting things that are coming in mental health, in trauma, in early childhood, because of the unity that is now back, if you will, in the early childhood community. So I wanted to just recognize my colleagues and share that. I think it's really profound. But in terms of our organization, Infant Welfare Society of Evanston, you have generously supported Teen Baby Nursery for many, many years. It's a fundamental part of our funding stream for us. I'll share with you a couple things about Teen Baby Nursery. We are, I believe, the only provider that specifically focuses on this age group. There are certainly other young parents that go to the other partner organizations, but the Teen Baby Nursery specifically focuses on ages 14 to 23. We have a partnership with Evanston Township High School, and we actually have slots reserved for high school students. We currently have high school students in our program. And so I want to share with you just a little bit about the challenges that these young parents face. These are some of the most volatile, challenging, and struggling families we have in Evanston. Very young age. Some of them are going through their own traumatic experiences as teenagers. Certainly giving birth at a young age is difficult enough, but some of them are involved in domestic violence situations, both at home and with their partner. Many of them are homeless or transient or couch surfing, as we say, moving from family to grandmother to friend's house. The level of impact that has on our young children that we serve 0 to 3 is really incredible and very challenging. We serve 16 parents, specifically predominantly the female mothers. We have infants, 8 toddlers. All are supported through Early Head Start, CCAP when available. But the funding that the Mental Health Board gives is profoundly impactful to our service of mental health to these children. We have a mental health provider, infant mental health provider, Erica Anderson from the University of Chicago. She has interns that works with us and works very closely with our parents. The target is infant mental health. So as my colleagues have talked about social emotional development, it is a critical aspect of early childhood readiness. And so when we have this level of trauma and this level of volatility within our young families, the impact is very great on these young children. And so having clinicians to be able to work with these children, to support them, to refer out when needed, is really a core of our mental health program in terms of social emotional development, as you've heard, as well as our developmental screenings that we do, monitoring progress of children, looking at how they move through our program and how we're helping those skills develop that are really impacted by this volatility of the family. The other level of mental health that we really look at is the actual parents and the young families. And certainly many of our mothers are going through mental health issues, both their own issues and familial issues, as I mentioned. We have multiple mentoring groups. Our teachers are actually trained specifically by our staff and our director to focus on a different type of mentoring relationship because of their age. We do have groups that we run out of the Teen Baby Nursery specific for our parents. We previously had a postpartum group that we were working with our parents. We didn't have as many postpartum issues, so we are pausing that program and certainly will refer if we do have postpartum. But one of our decisions was to help parents through an infant massage class that is certainly involved in mental health, mindfulness, working with your child. And so that is a program that we're doing now. They meet regularly in mentoring groups, which supports mental health and stability. We started a young fathers group working with our young fathers, targeting not just Teen Baby Nursery, but all of our programs in the community, but specifically designed to work with our young fathers as well. So I can't tell you the level of need for young parents. They're often a group that is neglected in our community, that is isolated. Sometimes they feel a need to disassociate, and so part of our job is to connect with them, help their children to develop socially and emotionally, provide clinical services. We recently applied for funds to support more family mental health in partnership with our colleagues, which I think is very important. And so this foundational dollars that's given and so generously given in the past by the Mental Health Board is a key to our success at Teen Baby Nursery and really working with some of the most vulnerable mothers and fathers that we have in our Evanston community. So I would certainly hope that we would continue, and I would implore that we could continue the funding and continue the diligent work we do trying to help these children develop, prepare them for Head Start or their pre-K experience and move on through kindergarten, as well as helping the parents adjust, develop, understand the needs that early childhood programs have on the parents and try to get them prepared for their future work in early childhood and kindergarten and elementary school. So I don't know if Mary, if you had anything else you'd like to add. So I want to thank you very much. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
How would it impact your program if you don't receive the full funding you request?
So quite honestly, it'd be devastating to us. Again, these dollars that we request are a foundational core of our programming. It's built into the complex financial structure that we have with Early Head Start, CCAP. We certainly do a large amount of fundraising that supports all of our programming. Without that, we couldn't operate either. So any part of those funding streams that are pulled from our current budget, we have to find a way to make up. And again, with increasing philanthropy, other organizations, as you just heard, all trying to raise dollars, it's a difficult task. And so these dollars are fundamental to our success with these most vulnerable young mothers and fathers. And so I'm hopeful that you'll continue the funding at a level that it's been. And so quite honestly, it'd be devastating to us if we didn't.
Any other questions?
Yes, if I could ask. You're focusing on the mental health needs of the parent, and I'm wondering, in the groups that you're holding, which sound very exciting, what other mental health providers are servicing these clients?
Sure. So as I said, we work with multiple experts in our program. So University of Chicago clinician Erica Anderson is one of the chief clinicians that we work with. Again, we've worked with a program called Beyond the Baby Blues. We've worked with other mental health providers that we refer to in the community. So we actually, again, one of the challenges funding is how do we provide the resources to provide all the mental health services. So like most of us, we have to refer out to partner organizations and find services. The challenge is that some of those services are at cost, some of those services have long waiting lists. So in terms of our work, mental health is internally focused with Erica Anderson, our mental health clinician, Tiffany Culpepper, our director that leads the mentoring groups with the mothers, and also other providers. Like I shared, the infant massage and mental health is also another aspect of an internal program that we do. And of course, we have other just developmental screenings and therapists that we work with from across the community, whether it's Lurie's Children's Hospital or others in the broader Chicago-led community that help our families.
Thanks for your good work.
Thank you so much.
Now, we'll hear from the schools project.
Good morning. My name is Virginia Lee, and I'm here with my colleague, Dr. Reginald Blunt. We're the co-executive directors of the Garrett Evanston Children's Defense Fund Freedom Schools program, and we're both on the faculty at Garrett Evangelical Theological Seminary. The address for Garrett Evangelical is 2121 Sheridan Road, Evanston. Our website is Garrett, GARRETT.edu. And our office support phone number is 847-866-3861. Garrett Evangelical has been a part of the Evanston community for more than 160 years. One of our core values is prophetic participation in society. And while this has been lived out in various ways throughout our history, one way we seek to do so now is through a commitment to children in Evanston, especially children in the Fifth Ward. For the past 2 summers, Garrett Evangelical has sponsored a Children's Defense Fund Freedom Schools program. It's a 6-week summer literacy program that helps children fall in love with reading. The Freedom Schools I Can Make a Difference theme incorporates the mission to support children and young adults to succeed, to excel, and to believe in their ability to make a difference in themselves, their families, schools, community, and world with hope, education, and action. This program helps to prevent the summer reading slide, as well as developing educational, character, and social skills. A typical day at the Freedom Schools program includes breakfast, Harambe, which is a high-energy opening of cheers and chants, and includes a time for read-aloud when a community guest reads to the scholars, which is what the children are called. The rest of the morning is used for an integrated reading curriculum that uses culturally relevant books to engage children in reading and critical thinking skills. After lunch, the afternoon is spent in creative activities or field trips. An outside assessment of our summer 2016 program found that 80% of our scholars maintained or gained in instructional reading levels and did not experience summer reading loss. Surveys that were completed by the scholars showed positive changes in their attitudes and character skills. Children valued school and education, developed positive ethnic identity, and obtained social problem-solving skills. Parents also completed the surveys. Parents perceived positive changes in their child, including interest and confidence in reading, knowledge about his or her culture, and social problem-solving skills. Parents also perceived that their parenting skills had improved. Another aspect of the program involved summer jobs and leadership development training for young adults in college or graduate school who serve as servant leader interns. During the last 2 years, we have hired 7 to 8 young adults who have served in this capacity each year. And servant leader interns, who are the teachers, have been instrumental in helping children build self-esteem. During these last 2 years, we partnered with a variety of organizations, including the City, District 65, Cradle to Career, Fleetwood Jourdain, Family Focus, and a number of faith-based organizations. We focused on children in grades 3 through 5 the first year, and 3 through 5 and 6 through 8 the second year. We added that group of 6th through 8th graders the second year because at the end of our first summer, children who were going into 6th grade knew that the program would not, if we had kept it the same way, would not have a place for them. And we were surprised when several boys going into 6th grade sobbed leaving on the last day because they didn't think they'd get to come back the next year. So we provided one class this past summer. Parents have told us that the program not only provides a safe, fun, and enriching environment, it does so in a way that relieves financial stresses on the family. Our program is offered at no cost to families, and we found that families that have 2 or 3 children, it makes a huge difference. The Garrett Freedom Schools program is one way to help children in Evanston maintain literacy skills during the summer, as well as developing and strengthening skills needed for physical and mental health. And when I was thinking before coming about mental health, one of the definitions that I found for mental health says that it's feeling comfortable about oneself, it's providing positive feelings about others, and it's the ability to meet the demands of daily life, which we think are important for everyone, but especially children. And the ways those are met are through culturally appropriate curriculum and books, opportunities for children to help themselves and others through social actions, which we do each summer, and through the literacy, critical thinking skills, and building self-esteem. And now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Dr. Blunt.
I'm Reggie Blunt, also co-executive director of the Garrett Evanston Freedom School. If you allow me, I'd like to share just a brief reflection that one of our student leader interns wrote about their experience with the Freedom School. He says, "I had the privilege to impart into 8 young scholars' lives this summer. All had big personalities, tons of energy, and their share of history from the previous school year. I knew that from the first day we all met that my work would be cut out for me and nothing about the next 6 weeks should be taken lightly. Along with the integrative reading curriculum, I knew I had to also create lessons around the scholars' academic weaknesses that I could identify: spelling, sentence structure, reading. Over the process of time, I began to see the improvements in all of these areas from the scholars. The magic about what was happening, though, was not in my seeing their improvement, but in them being able to clearly see the result of their own work. This was the most rewarding experience ever. Out of all 8 scholars, one touched my heart in a very special way. On the last day of Freedom School, I was passing out some of the work the scholars had done over the course of the program. Ron, 10 years old, who came to the program with reading and spelling insecurities, found a writing assignment he had done at the beginning of the program. He sat on the ground in amazement as he compared the writing assignment to one he had just done. He said with excitement, "Mr. A, I didn't spell any words wrong this time." This moved me to tears. Ron had overcome so much in 6 weeks. To see him excited about the very thing he professed to hate at the beginning of the program made me realize how special Freedom School really is. I've seen with my own eyes the effective results of this program. The Freedom School program has children fall in love with reading, but also with themselves. The transformation this program brings over such a short time to both scholars and student leader interns is worth praising.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have had former Alderman Dolores Holmes to be a big champion of this program from the beginning, and we have a letter of support from her that we will share, place as part of the file. Current Alderman Robin Rue Simmons is also a great support to this program. Her daughter Bailey served as a servant leader intern this past summer. We have the father of one of our servant leader interns who was with us this summer, who lives here in Evanston. Dr. Patricia Effiam has been also a major support and champion of our work and served as our project coordinator. We hope that you will give great consideration to our application. To your question about what would happen if there had to be a reduction, we understand the tremendous stress that you're also under and how to make these awards and make sure it has an impact in the community. With the work that we're doing in the 5th Ward, if we had to experience that reduction, it would have an impact, a major impact on us being able to offer the quality of programming that we want to make sure that the children in the 5th Ward experience that we work with. So again, we hope that you're able to give us great consideration in the work you do, in our work that we do.
However, you have not had funding through the city before, right?
This will be our first time, yes.
And how is that funding going to affect your program if you receive it? That's the other piece. And you don't have funding now.
What it will do is, one, strengthen the work and being able to say that we really and truly do have community and city support. The program is called the Garrett Evanston program, so it will allow us to be able to really demonstrate that we have community support, city support in the work that we do. Again, it will allow us to be able to have the kind of quality programming that we desire to have for the young people of the scholars of the 5th Ward that we are particularly working with.
Any other questions? Go.
I have several, but I'll try and condense it. My first question is, why did you apply for mental health board funding as opposed to CDBG?
It was our understanding as we were reading the criteria that this was the best fit for us, that we didn't feel that we qualified for the other funding.
So our board has 3 funding priorities. So how does your program address or meet any of those priorities? Are you aware of what they are?
If you could remind me.
Okay, the first is to address and reduce youth violence. The second is to address mental health needs and substance abuse of our residents with emphasis on youth and young adults. And the third is to enable challenged adults to meet basic needs, including food, shelter, and access to healthcare.
I definitely do believe that the way that the Freedom School is designed, it definitely meets the first 2. in the work that we do with our young people and the way that the program is designed to help them have a greater sense of self-esteem, greater sense of self, greater sense of who they are. The program, along with a focus around literacy, the kind of books that we use authors, we use titles, we use works that allow our young people to see themselves represented in the readings that they experience. It has a way of the program is designed to help our young people understand who they're supposed to be as citizens in the community and their responsibility in the community. All of those things, I think, have an effect on how we stem issues related to violence and the responsibility that young people see themselves having as being rightful citizens in the community. As it relates to mental health, again, I think self-esteem, I think the issue of how one sees oneself has a lot to do with how they deal with life and how they deal with the daily stress and struggles that life brings. And so when we have a healthy sense of self, we have a healthy mental health.
Okay, so some feedback for like future grants. I think that the application would have been made a lot stronger if there was some reference to some peer-reviewed or evidence-based research that really supports that correlation. We shouldn't be the ones drawing the conclusion and trying to piece it together.
The assessment part, you said like I mentioned that assessment part, is that what you're saying would be helpful?
No, I'm thinking of like correlations between, for example, increased literacy and school readiness with a correlation to mental health betterment or support. Do you see what I mean by that? Also, even like anecdotal evidence. I mean, that's still that would have helped. Also, I noticed that the funding is like for this training in Knoxville. It would have been great to hear that maybe your agency is undertaking training for mental health first aid, or if you have like a social worker or a psychologist or someone on staff that's like providing workshops just to help the mentors and other people kind of help young people identify needs like that. So,
and a lot of that work is done in the training that they're receiving in Knoxville. We apologize for that not being more explicit in what's being shared.
But I mean, it's a great program. The rationale for the program is really commendable.
Any other questions?
I just had one, again, hopefully quick question. It is a great program. It seems somewhat duplicative of other things that District 65 does in the summer. They have reading programs. The library has reading programs. Family Focus, I think, does stuff in the summer with kids as well. And so I'm wondering where you exactly get your referrals and why kids would come to your program as opposed to one of the other Evanston summer programs.
We have a great relationship with District 65, and so working with the principals and the social workers in the schools have been our primary area for recruitment of our students. I wish we were able to show you a day in the life of the Freedom School. Is not to say that our program is better, but our program is uniquely different in how we carry out our curriculum. The integrated reading program has a unique design in the way that it is run. The working with our kids with Harambe and how they start in the morning. Our total pedagogical approach to helping young people fall in love with reading is far different than just sitting in classroom and going through skill development.
Thank you for your good work. And now we're going to break until 11 o'clock.